So hello everyone. We're just going to wait 1 or 2 more minutes for a few more people if some people would join, and yeah, then we're going to start. Hello. I see that some of you are not muted, I think, so please, if possible, everyone mute their microphone. That would be great. Thank you. So just a few more seconds, then I'm going to start. Okay, I think we should be ready to go. So okay. Hello, everyone, to the final event of the Erasmus Plus project, Our Solartown, Youth Fight Against Climate Change from Knowledge to Action. Thank you all for joining in. Just a short heads up, this event will be recorded, so if you prefer not to be visible, it is best to leave your cameras turned off. Yeah, my name is Laurin Greiter. I'm from Austria. Usually I make music, I'm a singer, but I also have some experience in moderating. And today I have the honors of leading you through this event. I find the topic of sustainability to be a very important one for all of us. And that's why I also work for the Climate Alliance Austria, and actually also have been involved in the Solartown project. Maybe just short, for those of you who don't know, our Solartown is a European project which focuses on the importance of renewable energy in tackling the climate crisis by teaching young people about solutions such as solar thermal and allowing them to put their learnings into practice. But you will hear more about that topic later. So what are we going to talk about today? We are living in a time where it is crucially important that our society reduce their impact on the planet. Empowering young generations to act, find solutions, and giving them concrete opportunities to contribute to a better future should also be the priority in our education system. And this is exactly what we will discuss today, addressing not only youth taking action towards a better future, but also the opportunities they get in the schools to make that happen. So the thematic to kickstart our conversation is the relevance of youth engagement in sustainability, and we will hear different perspectives on that from our speakers. By the way, I think this might be the right moment for a small disclaimer. As there are several different countries and languages involved, I might not pronounce every name perfectly, so I apologize for that in advance. And please feel free to correct me if I mispronounce your name. So our guest speakers today will be Anastasia Pentagiotti, Special Advisor in Sustainable Development from Greece. Then normally Barbara Kulmer would have joined us, but unfortunately she got her vaccine today and she doesn't feel so well. So Stephanie Greiter will jump in for her today. Then we have Anja Fortuna, Vice President of the European Youth Forum from Slovenia, Ariadne Papatheodorou from Fridays for Future Greece, and Simon Kragel, Principal at the Nova Gorica Technical School Center from Slovenia. So welcome to all of you. I'm looking forward to hearing your speeches, and the keynote speeches will be followed by a panel discussion, as you can see here on the agenda on your screen. There you will have the chance to ask questions yourself as well. And then on the next point on the agenda, my Austrian colleagues Vera and Stephanie are going to present the project Our Solartown with all the developed teaching materials and the tools. And then last but not least, we will move on to the final item on the agenda, the Our Solartown Award Ceremony. We have several schools that implemented a Solartown project, and we would like to honor their fantastic work. So before we start with our first keynote speaker, please note that you can write questions you have in the chat. The chat is here. You see it on the screenshot on the bottom of your screen. If your question is addressed to one speaker in particular, please specify the name. And the second possibility, if you have questions, is to raise your virtual hand, which you can also see here on the screenshot. Then you will be unmuted by one of our hosts and you can ask the question personally. But please only raise your hand during the panel discussion, and the questions in the chat will also be addressed to in the panel discussion. So we will now start with our guest speakers. The topic discussed today, as mentioned earlier, is the relevance of youth engagement in sustainability. And now I will welcome Anastasia Pentagiotti, Communication Officer, Policy Advisor, and Special Advisor in Sustainable Development in the office of Alexis Georgoulis, member of the European Parliament. Personally, Anastasia has also experience in sustainable development at an international level. We invite her to tell us about the worldwide and the European perspective on youth engagement in sustainable future. Please, Anastasia.
Hello to all. Hi. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to participate at this event because I really and truly believe at the transformative power of youth. After all, according to United Nations World Youth Report for 2020, there are 1.2 billion young people aged 15 to 24 years old, accounting for the 16% of the global population. Today, we share some thoughts about education for sustainable development, which I believe promotes the development of knowledge, skills, understanding, values, and actions required to create a sustainable world, which ensures environmental protection and conservation, promotes societal equality, and encourages economic sustainability. The active engagement of youth in sustainable development efforts is central to achieving sustainable, inclusive, and stable societies and to averting the worst threats of challenges to sustainable development, including the impacts of climate change, unemployment, inequalities, poverty, gender inequality, conflict, and migration. Yesterday, I was reading a research done by the Education and Audiovisual and Culture Executive Agency within the European Commission on European youth aged 15 to 30 years, and their engagement shows that 53% of respondents have been involved in the activities of at least one organization in the last 12 months during COVID-19 pandemic. In my opinion, these results confirm that young people want to be active and do their best. Through its policy, the EU aims to give young people more equal opportunities in education, and this is achieved through various means, notably by engaging in dialogue with young people and through the Erasmus Plus program. Except EU mechanisms and programs, I think that European youth organizations play a crucial role in promoting youth engagement to sustainable development, and their empowerment is very important. We must not only allocate the necessary resources in such a context, but there is also a need for better recognition of youth work. But why is so important for our societies to engage youth with environmental education and education for sustainable development? Well, today's youth will become tomorrow's leaders, and it is essential to provide them with educational experiences in order to knowledgeable decisions regarding the environment. Many people believe, and I am one of them, that environmental education is one of the most important factors for preventing environmental problems. In order to make formative decisions, young people must not only become fully aware of the subject, but also develop a connection to the environment. Several studies show also the impact of youth building a connection to the environment and highlight 4 dimensions, results, if you want, of young people connection to nature. Enjoyment of nature, empathy for creatures, sense of oneness, and sense of responsibility. So, if we want to tackle environmental challenges, we should invest in environmental education in order to create environmental awareness and change the perception societies have on the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anastasia. Very interesting. So we will now move on from the European perspective to a more local one, and I will give the word, unfortunately not to Barbara Kulmer, as mentioned earlier, but to Stephanie Greiter, who will talk about the perspective of, as I said, the more local perspective of the city of Weiz in Austria. Please.
Yes, thank you, Laureen. Much greetings from Barbara. As Laureen said, she got the vaccination today and feels very sick. And I said, I will jump in. Actually, I'm a colleague of Laureen. I'm working for the Climate Alliance as well, but I am also an inhabitant of the city of Weiz, which is in the province of Styria in Austria. We are a small city with only 11, a little bit more than 11,000 inhabitants. And in very much projects, I work together with Barbara, so I hope I can tell you what she wants to tell you. So the question, first, there are a few pictures about the city. You can see a lot of solar panels there, and the region actually around the city is called the energy region of Styria or of Austria, because in very early times, this region started to use especially the sun to produce energy. And so what is Weiz doing to encourage the youth engagement, and what is the impact? Um, there are a lot of projects how the city of Weiz tries to involve the pupils. One project I want to share with you is the so-called energy watch points in and around the city. We have 18 of these energy watch points in the area, and in total 22 classes from several schools worked on this project, because what we wanted is that the kids themselves describe the energy saving, sustainable living, and points which we have in town. Because adults, they talk a lot about these things, but it's good if children just use their words to describe all these different points. For example, this is a picture of a so-called energy forest with very fast-growing woods, and here you see the sign the kids made themselves. Or here are two other examples. So it's, yeah, they were involved, and so now all these children know these energy points, and they get a lot of ideas what we all can do for a sustainable living. And of course, it's always good to celebrate. So this was the big feast where we presented the project. The children themselves presented the project. Um, Another project which we did in Weiz was a so-called solar camp, which is quite similar to the projects from our Solartown project. There were more than 40 students working together to build solar thermal collectors. And there were two schools involved, the middle school in Weiz, and the other school is from our partner city, Aika in Hungary. So we had to work with two languages, or actually most of the time we worked in English, which is, I think, also a good idea to connect different countries, students from different countries. We built solar panels with the size of 16 square meters, which are now installed at the sports house at a soccer field, one of our soccer fields in Weiz. And there was a second solar camp in Hungary, but unfortunately there we could not build collectors, but we had a lot of other things. For example, we built a solar stove. Yes, I think it's always a good idea, or what Barbara says also says is, if there's a possibility to celebrate and to connect the sustainable living with a good feeling, and the best opportunity is the Day of the Sun on the 3rd of May. Yeah, and this is one of these feasts where the kids get aware of this huge energy source that we have. Last but not least, we have a big playground called the Funergy Park in Weiz. It's huge, 2,500 square meters. And the kids, it's not only a playground, they have to use marbles and have to try to move them around, and they learn a lot about physical and technical problems. They have to use teamwork sometimes to move these marbles on, and yeah, this is all made in wood, so they can see it's, you don't need plastic the whole time. This is yeah, one of our big projects for children in Weiz too. Okay, thank you. These are the projects I wanted to show you from Weiz.
Thank you, Stephanie, for the interesting input, and also, of course, for jumping in on such short notice. So we're going to move on to the next speaker now, Anja Fortuna from Slovenia. She's the Vice President of the European Youth Forum, which is the biggest youth platform in the world right now. Anja has represented the Slovenian youth in many different sized events and has a lot of experience in this field. Please, Anja.
Yeah, hello, and thank you for inviting me. I said I'm Anja Fortuna, representing the European Youth Forum, and I have started youth engagement many years ago on the local level. So this panel really means a lot, because I understand and I know how important youth participation is from a local level, and from an early age. So when you're in primary, secondary school, high school, and so on, because that's when things start. The European Youth Forum is the biggest youth platform in the world, gathering more than 100 youth organizations and national youth councils all across Europe. We're gathering different types of organizations, and for most of them, sustainable development, climate crisis is important. Young people are the ones that are really pushing this topic further, and without actions and young people coming from organizations and groups like Fridays for Future and other youth organizations, I doubt that this topic would be on the agenda as much as it is, even though it's not enough. Today, the European Youth Forum launched the second edition of the Youth Progress Index. The Youth Progress Index is showing how the world, basically, and how the states are progressing in the eyes of youth. If we take out the usual progress indicators that we usually use, so the GDP, but we're looking at other standards, and sustainable development and climate is for sure one of the biggest topic. And when they did a research after what is the first thing we need to do when working on after COVID recovery, population aged above 50 said that we have to go back to this economic recovery. Young people below the age of 25 said that we need to work on environmental recovery, and that's the number one point we have to focus on and we have to work on. So this really shows that the topic of sustainable development and environment really is very important for young people. And without getting the support to exercise this wish and this motivation and energy to work on these issues, we wouldn't be able to have young people that are really pushing this forward. And schools play a crucial role in this, collaborating with youth organizations and combining the formal methods and the formal education with non-formal education really gives young people the opportunity to not just observe and to not just be afraid for their future, but to actually take actions. And I do represent the European organization that also works on the global level, but we have national organizations, and our international organizations have their own national organizations that have their local organizations. With this, we understand the importance of being active locally, because that's where you can do a lot of things. Those are the points and the entrance point to then discovering and to then change the situation on regional level, national level, and also European and global level. So I would say that it's we're very happy that schools have taken on this kind of projects together with other relevant stakeholders, where they promote this topic among young people. And we do believe that together we can change things and we can move forward. And what we, as I would say, a bit older generation, even though still young, have to do is to support young people, that they are involved and that they are the ones that are shaping the present and their future. And we do have to start acting quickly. Thank you. And yeah, hoping that you will have some questions at the end.
Thank you very much, Anya. Yes, as she mentioned, if you have any questions for any of our speakers, or maybe in general, as I mentioned, please feel free to write them in the chat, because we'll have time to address them. So our next speaker represents a movement that in the past years became one of the biggest in the world, engaging young people at different ages to demand action for a sustainable world. Ariadne Papatheodorou from Fridays for Future, representing Greece, the Greek movement. Ariadne, please.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm here not only to represent Fridays for Future Greece, but also I feel a bit as if I'm representing the youth, and the youth who is active in the activist sector, not only for environment, but also other topics, because when we fight for environmental justice, we also fight for social justice. In the last years, as was said already, Fridays for Future has grown immensely, and it's insane to see how much youth has brought this topic that is very important to us and lies very close to our hearts into governments and to the conversation again that older people had kind of given up on. So we see that hope from young people kind of brought back hope for older generations that kind of had given up on this conversation. In different forums and also in different meetings that I've been, I always see that older people are always so enthusiastic about Fridays for Future and about these climate movements from young people, because we bring this new energy to the table. We are ready to fight, and we're ready to kind of change the world that is in front of us. We see something, we see our world, we see all the problems in it, but we also see the potential, and we kind of feel like we can make a difference, and that's why we fight for our future. So the relevance of movements like these is immense, because youth is actually the one that brings the change. Of course, the immense help that we got from adults is incredible, and it's great to see all these people supporting us and helping us get to our goal faster. But at the end of the day, the hope and the enthusiasm young people bring to the table is something that was missing in the climate movement for many years. So now that we brought this topic to the table, we saw that during COVID, it kind of disappeared in the governments, but we never stopped working. We tried our best to keep people educated with webinars, with Instagram posts. In a digitalized world, we have this power in our hands of technology, and we started using it during COVID. So we reached so many more people, and we were able to bring education to them without being in the local level, because obviously, if I'm here and someone else is in Athens and I sit down with them, we have a discussion, it's easier for them to understand the perspective of why the climate agenda is so important. But technology kind of gives us the opportunity to connect from all over the world, as we're doing right now. So that is the beauty of it. And even though people are saying, oh, the climate topic kind of fell off due to COVID, we see that more people are engaged and are ready to, when COVID is completely over, to return to the streets and return also in other ways to fight for a climate agenda that is so important for us. Because at the end of the day, it's our future, and it's something we are willing to fight for, and we have to fight for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ariadne, for your speech and also for your work in general. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to the last guest speaker. Simon Kragel from Slovenia has worked as a teacher, lecturer, and principal at Nova Gorica Technical School Center and at, I'm going to pronounce that right, Fran Eraveca Elementary School since 1995. He's currently teaching the school subject of engineering and technology In our discussion, he is representing the position of the schools, which of course play an important role in this topic. Simon, please.
Thank you, Lorraine. So let me introduce our thinking about cooperation in the project. We were very pleased when Thea Bajt and Mateusz Koniar from GoInno Institute invited us to our Solartown project. But due to the known epidemiological circumstances in Slovenia, we have not had classes in school for several months in the last 2 school years. The epidemic caused a stalemate in the course of the project. I believe not only in Slovenia, and we are glad that the project has been now extended to next school year. Now we will be finally able to assemble and install a solar system on our school roof. Our school, Fran Erjavec Elementary School, is located in Nova Gorica, a town in the west of Slovenia, right next to the Slovenian-Italian border, together with the town of Gorica, or in Italian language Gorizia, on the other side of the Schengen border. It has about 700 pupils, and we are one of the largest schools in the region. The region is called Primorska or Goriška, and during the Austro-Hungarian monarchy, it was called Primorje or Österreichisches Küstenland. The name of the region shows that we live in a sunny region and that winter temperatures are not very unpleasant. The average irradiation in Slovenia doesn't deviate much from the national average, but in our region, it exceeds the value of 1,300 kilowatt-hours per square meter. In Slovenian primary school system, we have technique and technology subject in the curriculum from 6th to 9th grade, and as an optional subject from 4th to 9th grade. Pupils in the classes are from 9 to 15 years old. Within the school subject, engineering and technology, we teach children about existing technologies and how to work with different materials, but we also pay attention to make them aware of the importance of technology to environmental change in both positive and negative terms. The positive impact of new technologies on tomorrow's sustainable human existence in its only possible environment on planet Earth is, however, slowly growing. Through cooperation in the project, our Solartown, we were offered the opportunity to get specific materials, knowledge, and instructions for the transfer of knowledge to our pupils, and we are grateful for that. Our school works closely with the municipality of Nova Gorica and other institutions that operate within the municipality. One of them is GOLEA, Goriška Local Energy Agency, which, among other things, takes care of the implementation of energy management in public buildings. So this is also at our school. Thus, an energy renovation project of our school building is underway, with which we want to achieve or get closer to energy self-sufficiency. As part of this, it is planned to install 700 square meters of photovoltaic panels on the roof, completely renovate the boiler room. At the same time, we will connect solar system from the project to it. Our idea is to add practical assembly, and in autumn, after the learning lessons, we already finished this spring. This will present the operation of the solar water heating system to pupils in a very clear way. This device would have its own pump or additional circuit through which water would be heated in a smaller tank in which students would monitor and feel the rising water temperature in real time. Perceiving the rise of water temperature through their senses is very important, especially for younger children, as they do not have mastered understanding of technical terms yet. This will create a small learning center in which we would also conduct learning workshops and days of technical activities for students from our school and students of nearby schools in the city and region. We therefore hope and of course believe that the situation will allow us to complete our Solartown project in the coming months. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Simon, for the interesting speech, and thank you again to all the other speakers. Now we will move on to the panel discussion. And first, I would like to ask the keynote speakers if you have anything to add or anything to comment on the speeches of the other speakers. So if you have anything to add, please feel free to do that. And if not, we would move on to questions from the audience. As I mentioned earlier, if you have questions, please write them in the chat, or of course also raise your hand. Now is the time. Then you can ask them these questions personally. And please, I would like to ask the speakers to turn on their cameras again so we can see you. Thank you. I would also have a question, if that's okay. This is not directed to anyone in particular, just in general. So whoever wants to answer it, please feel free. Is climate change awareness present in the education system right now? And is there any improvement maybe in the last years that you've seen? Okay, Ariadna wants to answer that.
Person that is still in this education system. I'm finishing high school this year. Unfortunately, at least in Greece, it is not present at all. And also from personal experience in Germany, it isn't as well. So we have these educational systems and we see that a huge topic that is very pressing and that is also something that youth is very interested in and needs to be interested in because it's their future, is not at all present in the curriculum that we have in schools. We have this skeleton of a curriculum that is very similar in most countries. And then of course, everyone has something more, something less in different sectors. But environment is one that is missing. And that's why initiatives like these are very important for kids from a young age to learn about these topics, but we need to also add it in our curriculums, for example, in biology, or a totally new subject, some might say, is needed.
Okay, so you would even suggest a new subject about this topic. Okay, that's very interesting. Any other keynote speakers that would like to answer to that, maybe, or have some? Does anyone have any other ideas about this? Okay.
Well, sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that at least for Austria, we can say that there have been changes, and that there's already some of there are some parts of this topic in schools. We have a lot of projects in schools with the schools, and they are always very interested in working on climate change, working on renewable energies and so on. But it could be faster, and I agree with Ariadna. Maybe it should be just part of the curriculum, and maybe just like a new lesson they learned, just a new topic, which is in the curriculum.
So what you said, you did realize some changes in the last years. So that's at least a positive sign, let's say. But I think I agree that this movement should go ahead and become more and more relevant in schools. Does anyone else have a question in the audience, maybe? Or of course, also the keynote speakers can still ask questions about this topic or answer them. Or maybe I can think of a new question. Just give me a second. As I said, you can also raise your hand. That would be another possibility if you wanna ask the question personally. Then you will be unmuted and your camera will be turned on. So are there any other possibilities for young people to learn about climate change beside from the school? So yes, please.
Well, I think, and from my personal experience, there are a lot of non-governmental organizations that do some, especially non-formal education for sustainable development, some programs that everybody can participate. It's for children as well for young people, and also people, you know, mother, children together, sometimes combined. But there are in this sector, in non-formal education, it is very difficult for schools to participate. And there is a certain gap between private and public education, private and public schools as well.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's very good. I have received another question here. What kind of responses would you like to see from members of the European Parliament when tackling the climate crisis? Does anyone want to answer that?
Lorin, just
Yes,
a second
yes,
from the
okay.
technical support. Anya
Okay.
and Ariane have raised their hands, so
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah, okay.
Add on the
Very
previous
sorry.
question.
Please, then we will go back to this question later. Who wants to start? Sorry, I missed that. I'm very sorry. So maybe Anya, you will go first.
So
Yes.
she can go first.
Okay. Yes. So regarding the opportunities, I think there's a lot of them for young people. If you look around what's happening in your environment, there's a lot of youth organizations, as well as what Anastasia already mentioned, a lot of youth NGOs. And this is, at least in my case, the first time that I kind of got closer to this topic. And what I see in my local environment is that schools, so formal education providers, can use the NGOs as well as resources. So as well as an addition, how they can bring this topic to young people, because we know that this kind of topics, if we have another subject on this, it's another 45 minutes of lectures that might not be as interested for young people as if we have a more non-formal methods, more interactive sessions, or that we go, well, I'm already past that age, but that they go into nature, or that they see a company that is working on this, that they meet people that are working on that. So to have a more interested, more youthful approach on how to teach young people this kind of topics. And youth organizations, and I know a lot of are very keen on working with schools, are very keen on providing workshops, providing different materials, interactive materials for young people where they can learn this kind of topics. Because, you know, giving just another 45 minutes subject per week where you know, kids have to listen, it might not be as beneficial as if we put this as a lifestyle, not just as something that we're listening to.
Okay, so you're pleading for more like interactive lessons and not these standard school lessons. Okay, that's a good input. I think Ariadne also wanted to she also raised her hand before.
Yeah, so Anastasia and Anya have very good points, but I think the most the most thing used by young people right now is technology. We grew up with a phone in our hands since the age of, I know that I've had my first phone since I was 11. So I always knew how to use it. I have the whole knowledge of the world in my phone. I can just go on the internet and search something up. So that's also a huge benefit of it. So I can use my time by just going on the internet and typing, for example, I don't know what climate change is. What is climate change? How is it happening? Why is it happening? What can we do to stop it? So the easiest thing that is already accessible to a huge group of young people is in our hands, and we can use it for technology. And also apps like Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, these little small interactive videos are something that brings youth together and brings us closer. For example, you could see a reel on Instagram talking about the effects from climate change on the oceans. In Greece, we have a huge problem with just rubbish in the oceans. So these little things are something that I think youth is connected by because we grew up with it. So it's easier to connect through that again. And then you could have the interactive lessons Anya, for example, was proposing. It's really important. But I think digitalization is a huge part of it and makes connecting so much easier over these serious topics.
And I think I on Instagram, for example, I sometimes see things from Fridays for Future. So I think that Fridays for Future is a great example for what you just said. Okay, I think we also got some questions in the chat now. Is that true?
Lorraine.
Yes, hello, Leo.
We have 3 questions actually. Maybe from the first, from Maria Spy. As I'm a teacher in Greece, I would like to know what Fridays for Future is. So I would like to give the word. Vanessa, maybe she will do.
Should I answer?
I would like to know. Yes, I would like to know what which are their activities, because I didn't even hear about them before.
I'll just answer that question. So Fridays for Future is an international movement started in Sweden by Greta Thunberg, which where she was striking on Fridays and protesting outside of the parliament for a better approach towards climate change. This movement became worldwide, and in 2019 it was very big, and due to COVID, it has dropped a bit because we can't protest outside, obviously. But in Greece, we have not only actions towards governmental change, but also individual change, where we, for example, we have info stands where we talk about what is climate change, how do we combat it, what can we do next to the strikes, of course. Then we have clothes swaps, for example, talking about the importance of the clothes sector, or for example, vegan. We have cookouts for homeless people and refugees, because as we all know, refugees are the refugee crisis is another huge problem that Greece has to combat. So Fridays for Future is a movement that started out as a green movement for better government policies, but has turned into a social justice movement all over the world, where we fight for social justice and equality on all levels.
Σε ευχαριστώ, Αριάδνη. Σε ευχαριστώ πολύ. Thank you.
Τίποτα.
Okay, I think Anastasia has raised her hand. Do you want to add something to this?
Well, I want to add something, not to what Ariadne and Anya said. It was very, how to say, I forget the word. It was very, informative, but I want to make a remark about climate change and environmental education. We are not in the point that we must only learn how to tackle climate change, but how to adapt to climate change as well. We are living in some years that mitigation is, a form of reaching the problem, but and do something about it. But adaptation is the main thing that we must do right now. And that's why I believe that non-formal education is very crucial at this point. And of course, environmental education should be included in the formal curriculum of schools, but we must do something to all the, not only in schools, but to society as well, in order to understand what's the problem and how can we adapt to this. Thank you very much.
Oops, sorry. So now I'm unmuted. Thank you, Anastasia. Yeah, should we go on to another question in the audience, or does anyone have to say something to what Anastasia just said? Are there questions? I think so, yes.
Yes, Lorraine, we have two more.
Okay, please.
One from Felix Kretman. I will read it. There are indeed a lot of active young people at all ages, but what about the ones that are not involved? Do you know the reason why they are not interested? How could they be engaged?
Okay, so how to reach those who aren't active yet in this field is the question, I think. Who wants to answer that? Okay, Anya and Ariadne raised their hands. Maybe Anya first again.
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, a very important question. And what I see is that one thing is, so the first thing is support. I would not be active, and I would for sure not be interested if I would not come from a supportive environment. My school was happy that I missed some hours of, I don't know, history, because I attended an activity that kind of helped me understand the broader reality, and that I was aware that I'm not just a citizen of my country, but I'm basically a world citizen. So one is for sure the environment where young people are coming from, and school is the first one. So if schools are the ones that are supporting young people to be proactive, that are not just there learning just on top of their heads without really understanding the topics. And if schools are kind of supporting the fact that young people are just nodding and agreeing to whatever teachers say, then I don't think we're really going to have proactive young people, people that are involved and people that are thinking with their minds. So I think schools are one of the biggest kind of stakeholders when pushing young people and when providing an environment where young people want to be proactive and want to be involved. And the second thing is that a lot of young people cannot be interested in this and involved in this because they have their own issues they're thinking about. So, I'm covering most of my basic needs. So I have food, I have shelter, I have this kind of social environment, that I have this additional time and capacity in my mind to think broader, to think about environment, to think about sustainability, because the ones that are dealing with issues at home, with issues if they're going to be able to put food in their mouth, those young people do not have the capacities to think beyond themselves, and we should as well not expect that from them, because we should, and meaning we working from the position of people that are kind of capable to provide for themselves and are able to make decisions, that we create environments where young people do not need to think if they're going to have food the next day, but they can think broader, and they can actually work on global issues and on issues that are bigger than themselves. But yeah, I would say that those are the things.
Okay, thank you. I think Ariadne also raised her hand before. Do you want to add to this, maybe?
Adding on to what Anya said, exactly, caring about the environment and these topics is a privilege at the end of the day. We have the privilege of being able to talk about these topics without worrying about where our next meal is going to come from. But also in Greece, there's this culture of the last 2 years of school, you have to study all the time, because we have these very big exams that are very difficult, and it's very high stake because these determine which university you're going to go to. So most kids finish school at 2 p.m. and then from 3 to 9, they have after school lessons. So there's no really time for them to think about these topics, world topics, bigger topics than just what they're going to study, because they have this culture of needing to be perfect and needing to study and needing to get good grades to go to a good university and then become a doctor or a lawyer. So this kind of limits their ability to think about what is the environment, what is going on, how can I help, because they don't have the time on their hands. So that is another problem, I think, of society, and how it puts pressure on young people to become something specific without letting them bloom in their own way. or having creative lessons or becoming the person they want to become. It's more of a cookie cutter. So you have to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Laureen, I cannot raise
Yes.
my hand because I'm sharing the presentation.
Okay.
There's just one point that because I'm working in environmental education as an NGO for a long time, and what I think is very important to meet the children, the kids at the point where they are. It's not worth tell them everything about climate change if there's something totally different in their mind. And that's what I always try. Meet them at the point where they are. And even one time it was, I started to talk about diving, and then suddenly all these kids were interested, and we talked about the oceans and the problem of climate change with the oceans. But then they were very interested and they got very into it. So this is an important point to get them their attraction.
So kind of to build a bridge from the point where they are to the point where it's about the important topics. Okay, yeah, that's also very interesting. Thank you. I think we are now close to the end of the panel discussion. Maybe we can read the last question from the chat. That's possible, and then we should move on to the next point of the agenda. So yes.
Yes, here. The last question is from Maria Teresa, that is stressing that in Greece there are centers of educational environment supervised by the Ministry of Education, and they form a part of the non-formal education that we were talking about. And the target group is mainly teachers and students. And they are, as she's mentioning, very popular, and they make excursions and they're implemented on a voluntary basis from the school part. And she thinks, and she's stressing that it's important that environmental education should be included in the formal curriculum.
Okay. Yeah. Would anyone want to answer this or go in a bit detail?
Maybe I can, because I was
Yes. Thank you.
non-formal education a lot, but how we see things is that they have to go hand in hand. So for sure, I would agree that formal education is important because that's the first kind of entry point. So basically everyone goes to primary school and then secondary school, well, most of them. But yeah, it still should be included in the formal education curriculum. But then yeah, maybe looking at new ways of kind of teaching, not just there's someone that lectures for 45 minutes and you have to learn all the facts about climate change without being actively engaged. So talking about meaningful participation during those lectures.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I think we have 5 more minutes. Does anyone of the speakers have any kind of final message or something they want to talk about? Because then we're going to move on to the next point of the agenda. Any messages, anything? I see there was a response from Maria Teresa. She said, if we raise awareness and interest to children, it will follow them into all their lives. Also, our example is very important. Yes, I think we can all agree with that. Yeah, I think, should we just move on to the next point? I think so, yes. Okay. So thank you again for everyone who participated in the discussion. And as mentioned during the speeches and the panel discussion, we need more opportunities in school for young people to take action and to be an active contributor to making. Oh, someone is unmuted. Sorry. So if your microphone is unmuted, please mute it. So yeah. Thank you. So where was I? I'm just going to start over again. As it was mentioned in the speeches and the panel discussion, we need more opportunities for students to take action and also to contribute to making our society more sustainable. And we could not agree more with this. And that's why the next point on the agenda is our Solartown project. an excellent example for youth in action. So I'm going to give the word to Stephanie again and Vera, my Austrian colleagues, and please explain to us what the Solartown project is all about.
Yes, thank you, Laurin. Okay. Barry, you start?
Yes, I start. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And I think the requirements towards education materials are quite high, as we heard in the discussion before. And I dearly hope we all met this with our project. And on the next slide, you can see an overview on the project results. We realized an e-learning. We made some tools to make solar thermal touchable for pupils. We made teaching materials for the teachers to take into class and to work with the pupils. And we made some guides, which are overall a guide for technician if they really want to build a solar plant, and as well as a guide for the teacher to navigate through the whole bunch of material that is available there. Our project is an Erasmus project, and thank you very much for the European Union for funding this project. It runs, started in 2018 and will finish in November 2021. And there are 5 project partners which come from Austria, Slovenia, Greece, and Belgium. And the teaching materials are focused on one hand on renewable energy, and the second important thing is the climate crisis, but also a strong practical focus in building really solar thermal systems with the pupils again. And according to the project partners where they come from, the material is available for free in German, English, Greek, and Slovenian, and solartown.eu is the project website where you can find any of the material. And as we started before the big pandemic, there is already one photo available where you can see the project team, but a lot of time we sat behind computers as we are doing now, but still we managed to make really a great team and to work together with all the materials. This is an overview of all the materials. We divided them into offline materials, which of course are to download from our website, and online materials, which are done directly on the website. The offline materials will be explained in detail by Steffi later. I want to guide you through the online materials. There is one e-learning with 3 different courses. There is a planning tool, which is focused on really planning a solar plant with the real results. And it gives really different results when you build the solar plant in southern Italy, in opposite if you plant it in northern Sweden. So it sets active the data you put in there, and there is a process manual. The idea behind this is that the pupils not only learn how to build the plant together, but really to have the whole process from starting where are legal requirements, where you can find the financing, and so on. So in the end, if you go through the whole process, you could make this over and over again and build more solar plants once again. So the idea was to call this project Solartown, that it not only stays within the school and is something theoretical, but it really could be spread out and the whole town could go solar with it. And I just explained that you could do the whole process, but as the learning units are so modular, you could also pick 1 or 2 or 3 or how many lessons you want, and where they could also work as a standalone. For instance, a role play where you learn about the greenhouse effect. And what Ariadne said before, we tried to prepare interactive lessons with experiments, and that it is not only giving the pupils a lot of theory, but it works with interaction between the pupils. As you can see on the e-learning side, there are 3 different units, and they could be used as homework, preparation for class, or repetition. And on the next slide, you have a look into the e-learning. So we tried to put there a lot of interactivity, a lot of pictures, questions to be asked, and as well as games, so the pupils get engaged into it. The planning tool and the process guide can be found behind the red flag on the website, and you will need a registration for each class. So the data you put in is stored there. And the idea is that the monitoring of the planning and construction process is stored into this process guide. And what pupils learn is working with online tools, and online tools are very important as we need ICT literacy. And the second important thing is to illustrate complex decision-making processes that a tool can provide you with data, but the decision and how it comes to the decision is something on top of this data. The tool can't decide where the best site for the solar plant will be. Also from the input of the data from the pupils, a newspaper is compiled, which on one hand could be submitted to the European Solartown Award we hear on later on. And the second thing is that this newspaper can be used for dissemination. So the pupils can show what they did in school, to spread the knowledge on solar thermal energy and renewable energy into the general public, because to some of the people, the parents, the grandparents, this is something totally new they did not know about. And I think to go to the great transition into renewables, we need a lot of people to be informed. So inform the pupils first and hope they get active within their own families. On the next slide, you can see the planning tool, and it once again picks up the idea that Anja said. It's important that you connect to the local level, and here you can really have the map of whole Europe, and you can zoom into the school or any other building you want to build the solar plant on. And on the next slide, you can see that there are a lot of data to be put in. So in order you have the idea to make the solar plant at the spot where the hot water is needed afterwards. And of course, you can then try variants. The inclination or the azimuth can change, and then you see that the yield of your solar plant will be totally different if it is set on the roof and the roof goes to north. You don't have any luck with producing solar energy. So you see the results of your action very fast. And the overall idea, of course, is that planning needs some facts. In the next slide, you see the results of the tools. And on the one hand, these are very detailed data. So you have really the greenhouse gases that you save if you build your solar plant, and you have the excess heat, so the heat you cannot use anymore, and on the other hand, the useful heat. But to make it easy, we also made the traffic light scala. So you have the red, yellow, and green colors to show you very easily which is the best spot, and to select a very good place for your solar plant. And you can also show the results in absolute for the whole project, and then per person who is using the heat and by area, so you can easily compare the plants you have planned with the tool. And on the next slide, there's a look into the process guide, and you can see from left to right, it starts with learning, then there is preparing. What you see here is the cost page, and then there is the building and the activities that could be built around, and tell the world is the dissemination, and these are the steps the pupils can run through. And once again, it's very nice if you really plan a solar plant, but it's also possible to do this in theory and just do some learning units and some activities, and it also makes sense for the pupils as well. And on the last page from my side, I would like to show you there's the green slab on the website, which is teaching materials, and this is the area where you can download all the material, and this is available without any registration, and you can easily download all of the materials, which Steffi now will explain you in more detail.
Thank you, Vera. Yes, as Vera said, there are a lot of learning units and materials you can download for free on the website. And we tried to cover the most important things if you want to build a solar thermal plant. The first learning units are about the theoretical background, energy sources, solar energy, and so on. But then we have the learning units about all this planning, the costs of the solar thermal system, and so on. We have the public relations, creating the newspaper, and what dissemination activities the schools could do or the classes could do. We have role plays, because we think it's a very good idea that the students can see how different stakeholders argument, or they have to argument like these different stakeholders, and that you talk about different opinions and find solutions. And last but not least, we have the practical units, where we have really the building of the plant, the practical realization, the presentation, which means like an event or a feast where you where they present their Solartown project, and excursions, which could be a possibility, for the Solartown project. All our learning units, they have the same have the same design. You have first the theoretical background. We called it the learning plan, with all the necessary information, background information for the teachers. Then we have a teaching plan to give you an idea how you could create or do a lesson in the class, including the time needed and so on. And then we have worksheets for the different materials. We have experiments. Everything is described in detail, and so you can download it, and it's easy to do it. This is an example for a role play. What is needed, and we have made these cards where the students get an idea of the opinion of the stakeholder they have to represent during the role play. For example, here is a school representative, and so they can discuss about different scenarios. And this is an example. Is the practical unit where it comes to the building of a solar thermal collector, and this is a part I like very much, because now it comes from knowledge to action, that the children could really or can really build their own solar thermal plant. You have all the necessary information here, what preparations are needed, what tools, what materials, and the time needed. And yeah, so you can build a solar thermal plant yourself. And I forgot to mention to insert it here, but we also have tutorial videos which are in the production process right now, but will be online soon, where so you not only can read all the construction steps, but you also can see it in a little video, how the next step is, construction step is. And these are the two guides Vera already talked about. The implementation guide is all the information of the project, of the teaching materials, what you have to think about. And the technical guide has all the technical details that the technicians who might help you with the project get a lot of information to work with the pupils. Okay, I just wanted to show you, because we already built it, collectors with children, a few pictures. We figured out 14 construction steps, and yes, the kids, they love to do this work, because here they really it's learning by doing, and they have a lot of fun. They learn a lot about techniques and about handicraft, and so yeah, it's for them, most of them, very, very nice. So here you see all the description of the working steps. It's very into detail with the pictures in, so you get all the necessary information to build the solar thermal collectors yourself. And yes, you see, for example, painting the bars. What do you need? What you have to think about? And especially important, attention. Sometimes there are things you have to be aware of, that there are no injuries and so on. One point with which the kids love the most, but I'm always a little bit scared, is the soldering of the solar thermal plant. But you see, soldering, it's the absorber strips and the copper pipes, but even this point works, so they can do that as well. And after they did a wooden frame and they connected all the absorber stripes, they put these two things together, and then you have to cover it all with a glass, and then your solar collector is finished. Of course, you have to clean everything and screw everything together, and then it's ready. And this is what the kids like very much, is the stress test. At the end, one of the girls can step on it and try this solar safety glass if everything works. And of course, all together they have to carry the collectors. Yeah, Okay. Oh, here I have the slide about our YouTube channel, and we are working on these tutorial videos right now, where you can see all these working steps. And these tutorial videos will be in English and with subtitles in the other languages. Okay, and as I said before, in Styria, we have already experience with building solar thermal collectors with students. We did it already 14 times, and it works really, really well. And I'm always impressed how much the classes are into it. They work really with a lot of effort on it. Girls and boys are the same. That's what some of the teachers surprises very much, because sometimes they say, oh, but I don't know, Susie, she never touches anything, and now she's drilling and painting and doing everything, because they really love that they just can, use their own hands and just work. And of course, here in Austria, we always do the presentation. Here you see an example of this newspaper Vera already talked about, and we had this event in one of our schools, which is very nice for the children as well. The local press normally loves this projects as well, because it's quite impressive if you see this collector, the children build it. And yeah, so that's a wonderful dissemination for the project. One question always is, how much do solar thermal collectors cost? We normally use do-it-your-own kit from several companies. You can buy them, and it's for this 16 square meters. As I told you, for example, before, we build it in Weiz. It's approximately around 5,000 euro you pay for the materials. We always have 2 technicians who help us, which are around 3,000 euro more. But I think it's good that you have an expert to help you. And there's, of course, one point not to forget is the cost of the installation, which depend on the circumstances. Depends on where you want to erect the panels, on the roof or beside of the building. Is it part of a renovation of a building, which makes it much cheaper, or how big is the distance, and so on. But yeah, as you can see, I think 8,000 euro, all the materials and the technicians, is not that much, to my opinion. Okay, this was all we have from our Solartown project. Only a short presentation. We could have shown you much more, but I hope you got a nice idea of what we did. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie and Vera, for the interesting information about this great, wonderful project. We are now going to get to the last part of the event, the Solartown Award. Just waiting, yes, for the other presentation again. Okay, so the Solartown Award. I think we have a video there, if it starts. Okay. Just waiting for the video to start.
Yeah, sorry, just a little computer problem.
No problem. It's all live, so that happens. Does it work? Yes. Okay. I think you have to unmute yourself, because I don't hear anything now. You have to unmute.
Sorry,
Stephanie?
yeah,
Yes.
I forgot. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this is, yeah. No
problem.
I start again, sorry.
Yes.
Our sun is the biggest source of energy. Would you like to explore with your class how to capture its enormous power? Currently, the best method is to use solar thermal collectors to produce heat. Would you like to share knowledge about solar thermal energy and renewable energies? Maybe you even want to build your own solar thermal collector with your class? then our Solartown is just the right thing for you. At www.solartown.eu, you will find teaching materials and tools for your own Solartown project. Materials are available in English language and others. Take part in the Our Solartown Award and win prizes in the value of €500 for your class.
Great, thank you. So now we will move on to the Solartown Award. We have 3 winning schools, one from Greece, one from Slovenia, and one from Austria. And we will start with our winner from Slovenia, and the 3rd place internationally goes to the Frana, I'm trying to pronounce it right, the Frana Eraweca Elementary School from Nova Gorica in Slovenia. Congratulations. They started to work with learning units of our Solartown, and they will build the plant in autumn due to the pandemic, because unfortunately I heard the school had a lot of problems due to COVID. So we hope everything will get better and everyone stays healthy. Congratulations again. Then we move on to 2nd place, which is the Austrian national winner. Congratulations to the Secondary School for Environment and Economics, HLUW Ispertal. Congrats. 21 pupils of the 2nd grade participated in the project, learning about renewable energy and carrying out tasks independently and in groups. The main focus was on the development of role plays for different given scenarios, as well as planning and constructing a solar thermal system. The system will be used in future practical units for demonstration purposes, but also for measurement applications. Your work looks quite impressive. Congratulations. And the winner in Greece and internationally is the 5th Gymnasium of Kardica. Congrats to you. The students and teachers were highly engaged with the project. They worked with the learning units from our Solartown, created an e-magazine and a poster, and made a construction that illustrates the operating method of a solar thermal system. It's so amazing that you did such a great job, such a great project, despite the situation around COVID. So congratulations to you for winning. And of course, congratulations to all of the 3 schools. Yes, the national project partners from our Solartown will contact you, the winning schools, and send you the certificate and your prizes. And with that said, we get to the end of our event today. I want to thank everyone who was involved in this event and also in the project. Thank you to Erasmus Plus for financing the project and the international agencies for the good cooperation. Thanks, of course, also to the keynote speakers today, Anastasia, Anya, Ariadne, Stephanie, and Simon. And thanks also to Vera and Stephanie again for the interesting presentation about the project. And of course, also thank you to everyone who worked behind the scenes. And yeah, thank you to you, the audience, for being here today. If anyone would like to implement a Solartown project in the future, like these wonderful award-winning schools did, please visit the website solartown.eu. You can find all necessary documents and tools there. And if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are happy to help you, of course. Have a nice evening, and let's fight climate change together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
We will close the event soon. I was just seeing that a lot of people are still writing on the chat. So thank you everyone for attending.
Yes, I've see it there. Thanks. Greetings from Serbia. Thank you for the good organization implementation. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. thanks, Laureen, for the good moderation of the event.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you everyone, and yes, thank you, Lauren. You did a great job with moderating this event. And yeah, we keep in touch on social media, and just visit the project website if you want to find out more about the project. Bye-bye all.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.